Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And not too long ago, we did the me and Richard about a while back. We did the state of the Marvel cinematic rights. And so now we were talking for a while about doing a possible DC version of this. Now, so much the rights are more prevalent than, of course, Marvel, but we still have to talk about a lot of the future of the DC Marvel, or not DC, DC cinematic universe, which coincides to the rivals of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And again, as always, joining me is Richard Korra Kenobi, who is now the Jedi Bender on his new channel.
Hey man, how's it going? Hey everybody, it's good to be back talking about DC. I particularly am a DC fan. I do love Marvel, but I grew up with DC first and then got introduced to Marvel. Plus, I think us talking about DC, there's a lot to talk about. They give us so many topics to discuss. I think we could go on for hours and hours about this.
Yes, we could, definitely. There's a lot of different aspects of DC right now with where they're going with the DC universe, or extended universe, or DC world, whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah.
It's, there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of future movies coming on, and there is a lot of clunks that they've had to along the way in the past, and there's also been some good overall. And I know, as of recently, talking about this, because I recently made a video talking about a certain film that I don't like, that unfortunately somehow made money. So, what do you think of Aquaman?
First of all, I called it, and second of all,
I'm still shocked about that. But yeah, it did. It worked. I said, I said if it did, I would admit I was wrong on this, and I was wrong on this.
To talk about Aquaman, because I did have the pleasure of seeing that film. I will say, it is definitely the better DCEU film. It's right up there with Wonder Woman, and that's about it. But what I really think is good about Aquaman is that it does a good job of separating itself from the other DCEU films, and it gives you something that I think a lot of people have been wanting, because we've seen a lot of Batman and Superman films, and we don't really see films about Wonder Woman and Aquaman. So the fact that both of these films are now successful, I think that really shows that DC really needs to stop planning on making future films with Batman and Superman and just focus on the other characters that they have at their disposal. Because, Aquaman, in a million years, I never thought, like you, I never thought that it would be a success. I've been a huge fan of the character for a very long time, and the fact that this film is on the potential to make $1 billion, it's not set in stone, but it could happen. It definitely could happen. So the fact that we live in a world where Aquaman could potentially be the highest grossing DCEU film, it's crazy. So yeah, I loved Aquaman. It's not perfect. It still suffers from flaws, much like the other films, but it's definitely more watchable and enjoyable than...
Now, are they retconning the Justice League film? Because you said they didn't mention the... You said they didn't mention anything about Justice League in that movie.
They do. They only make... Yeah, they only make one reference to Justice League, and that's about it. This film does take place after Justice League, but Aquaman's just not referencing it as much as another Marvel film would reference the events of a past Marvel film. So, yes, it is still within the canon of the DCEU.
Yeah, and so my whole thing is, I do have to disagree about ignoring the Batman films. I think Batman still prevalently makes money on a consistent basis, and I don't blame Batman v Superman for Batman. I don't think it was really his fault. I think the failings of Batman v Superman was that movie. See, I look at the Batman v Superman movie more as a film that they basically did just to kind of get everything together for the Justice League film. So I don't look at that film as a film where Batman necessarily failed in that film, because that film was more of a film that they just basically did so they can get all their T's and a tots for the next Justice League film, rather than worry about the film itself actually being good.
Yeah, well, right there, I agree with you. I hate talking about Batman v Superman because it's still a controversial topic to talk about. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I liked how Batman was handled in that, even though yes, it's a cold-blooded killer Batman and not the Batman we all love and know. But I can understand they wanted to do something different. But yes, no, I completely agree. They mainly did that film just to catch up and start their own cinematic universe, rather on focusing on just making a good film first. And that was the problem. And ever since then, it's all kind of gone downhill. And it's because of Batman v Superman that all of this crazy stuff has happened.
Yeah, it's just really, the film, and that's the thing, because I believe this year, or not this year, I mean, technically not this year, until a couple of days will be in next year, but 2019 was supposed to be a year that Batman was supposed to have his own solo movie, and we don't know where his solo movie is going to ever happen, if it's going to ever happen now, because it's still on to be determined. But it was mainly because of that Batman versus Superman film.
Yeah, no. To my knowledge, the Batman film is still happening. It has gone through a major rewrite. The current director is looking to possibly getting it into production by next year. So we probably won't see that film until 2020. Yeah, 2021 at the bare minimum. But other than that, yeah, no. Batman is... Yeah, no, Batman is actually, I think out of all of the DC heroes, Batman is suffering the most. And that's funny to say because at least with Superman, he had one movie, whereas Batman, he's only appeared in 2, and well, 3 if you count Suicide Squad, but he hasn't had his own solo film.
And the thing is Batman is their biggest moneymaker, like in terms of the superhero franchise, he's their biggest moneymaker.
Yeah, he is the moneymaker when it comes to DC Comics. He generates so much money a year off of video games, comic books, animated films, live action films, merchandise. He's definitely the biggest cash cow. But to see Batman in the state he's in right now is it's ridiculous. And now we're pretty much potentially going to get another Batman actor, and Ben Affleck is out as Batman. So
that's going to be another problem in itself too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, Batman v Superman definitely caused all of these problems. But at the same time, something good did come out of that, and that kind of does fit into a nice segue into Wonder Woman, because that was really where everything started to go in a decent direction. I myself, like everyone, I have some flaws with that film, but I mostly do agree it is a good film. It's watchable, it's enjoyable, and it's funny. Yeah, no, it is.
It also is what led to all these other female movies that are now in production. Dark Phoenix, Captain Marvel, which, as we all know, that film had been downgraded for years because they didn't do a female, and now because of successful Wonder Woman, now all of a sudden we're seeing that, and we're seeing obviously Dark Phoenix too, but that's obviously Marvel stuff, so we ain't gonna focus on that. But I just wanted to
you're definitely right. It is because of Wonder Woman that we have a more emphasis on female heroines these days, because they can be just as profitable and be as inspiring as the male counterparts. So I really have to give credit to Wonder Woman for that. But it is a shame to really think about it that out of all of the films, like Superman, Superman couldn't make it work. Batman with Superman couldn't make it work. The Suicide Squad did make it work somewhat, but it was still a huge mess of a film. Whereas with Wonder Woman, you definitely saw there was more emphasis on making a film, not the start to a universe. So I really do like that. But then it's also funny on how in that same year, Wonder Woman was such a huge success, it changed everything in Hollywood in terms of female superheroes. And yet in that same year, towards the tail end of 2017, Justice League came out, and it was a huge flop, and it nearly killed the DCEU, and it's kind of been the last straw. So Warner Brothers and DC are kind of in a shuffle right now. They don't know what to do. So
well, that's the thing, and that was like, you know, a lot of people were like leaning on this Aquaman film, like, which I didn't think was going to do good, and if that didn't do good, which I thought it wasn't going to do good, but obviously it has done really good now. But if it hadn't done good, that probably it definitely, I think, would have been the end of the DCEU. I think they would have rebooted. But my personal opinion, but I don't think that's going to happen now.
No, well, yeah, I'll get more into that later on because I do want to bring up something. But that is a good point. Like, if Aquaman had bombed, then yes, definitely the DCEU would have been even worse. Like, right now, thanks to Aquaman and Wonder Woman, it's kind of steady. It's not going in the direction we want it to go, but it's a good start. It's definitely taking baby steps. But yeah, no, Justice League, you know, it's funny. Every time I look at Justice League, I think we could have gotten something really good. We could have gotten... Yes, we could have gotten something that we have been waiting a long, long time since we were kids, since we saw.
Yeah, and that's Justice the thing. League. Like the original 2000s Justice League, which is the original 7, and that's what a lot of the stuff we grew up with is, you know, most films now are, you know, our demographic that grew up with the early 2000s Justice League, and I really feel that if they had took the approach of doing the original 7 from that cartoon series, do like a solo movie for them all each, and then collide them together as the Justice League, I feel like they'd be in much better shape. It would be kind of similar to what Marvel did, but in their own format. And I think it would have been a much better way of doing it than rushing it into the Justice League like they did, of course, with the Batman v Superman. I really call the setup for the Justice League film, really, than, as we said earlier, was more of a setup film. And it just, as we've seen, it didn't work. And it's, I don't know. And, like, my thing is, and I get into this because, you know, I talk about this all the time about Cyborg. He's not a Justice League member. I know in the New 52, he's been like upgraded to the Justice League, you know, or whatever, but no one remembers him as a Justice League member. We all remember him as Teen Titans. We all remember him as a Teen Titan, and that's where he's most famous in. And I feel like what they should have done was not have him in the Justice League, have him in the Teen Titans, or do a live-action Teen Titans. You could have that as the Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, like Marvel does. And everyone knows the Teen Titans. No one knew who Guardians of the Galaxy were before that film was made. So Teen Titans definitely, as a live-action film, would have done a lot better, I think, than Guardians of the Galaxy would have, because of its name recognition already that it would have had.
To go off what you said, even if they had took inspiration from the original cartoon, or they decided to stick to the original comics, it really wouldn't have mattered. What mattered would have been is if they had just focused on making these heroes, these icons that we grew up with, that are the pinnacle of modern-day superhero teams next to the Avengers. If they had focused on just making you believe that they're coming together and it feels good, I think we could have gotten something special, just like with the Avengers. And yeah, they should have really focused on making their own solo films. But see, even if they didn't want to, okay, fine, you don't want to make your own solo films, you don't want to copy Marvel, superhero. But see, that's the funny thing about that, because now, ironically, they are copying Marvel, or they're copying how most modern day superhero films are made. You know, you have to have some lightheartedness, you have to have some jokes, and you have to have your superhero movie be fun, because I think you and I can both agree, nobody wants to see a dark, dramatic, and boring superhero film. You don't want to see a film like that. You want to see a film
depends on the
that
superhero, but I mean,
well, yeah, no. I mean, it depends on the superhero. You're right, but what I'm definitely getting at here is like, okay, you can have your cake and eat it too. But the fact that they just decided to say, okay, no, our comic book universe is going to be dark, it's going to be gritty, but then all of a sudden they decide to change that with Justice League by having it more upbeat, have it more lighthearted, and that definitely didn't help Justice League's case, because it didn't start off like that. If it had started off like that, I think it could have been good. But, you know, you can't change what's done. And as of right now, now getting into Aquaman, as we both have said countless times, it's a success, and it's carrying the DCEU into the next year. So as of right now, Aquaman, which again, it didn't need to be dark and gritty. I'm thankful they did it, because again, this character, you take one good look at this character, and you do not see him as being dark, brooding, and gritty. You see it being fun, almost like a Pirates of the Caribbean film if it was a DC film. See, that's what I think people wanted. And
mean though.
Well, again, that's debatable. You know, we all have our opinions, but either way, I'm happy Aquaman is doing good. But right now, into the next year, there's only one DCEU film coming out. There was supposed to be two, with Wonder Woman 1984, but that has been pushed back for.
Yeah, we know, but I wish that had come out next year, because I really was looking forward to that. But
yeah, but the good news is it has wrapped up its filming, so it will be on track for a 2020 release, so that's good. But the only DCEU film coming out next year is something I've been looking forward to for a long time, and that's Shazam, or the original. Exactly. Great minds think alike. And yes, for everybody wondering, yes, I don't care. I know he's called Shazam. But I'm still going to call him Captain Marvel, because that's what I grew up on.
To be fair, even though his comic books were titled Shazam for so many years, technically his character was still being called Captain Marvel until the New 52 comics came out.
Yeah, no, and that is on DC, because I think we can get into
the same thing too, even with the Justice League, the Unlimited series that we got, the cartoon, they called him Captain Marvel as well too.
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's all DC's fault. If they would have paid attention to this stuff, Shazam still would be called Captain Marvel, but, you know, instead they just decided to be lazy and let Marvel have the damn title. So, you know, what's done is done.
It's kind of ironic too, because, you know, for anyone who doesn't know, 'cause some people don't even know about this, but it's kind of ironic because they sued the company that originally owned this Captain Marvel, right?
Yes, Fawcett Comics.
They sued them, and they, you know, because they claimed that he was a Superman ripoff, which the courts actually agreed and ruled in DC's favor. But because of this basically meant that they were dormant for like 20. Captain Marvel was dormanted for like 20 years. And then the company went bankrupt, and they had no money, so they just eventually sold it off. Ironically, to DC, who were the people that sued him for being a ripoff, because at the time they were making more sales, I guess, than Superman was, and that was the whole thing about the lawsuit, anyways. But then they basically bought the property, and then, like, by that point, the female Captain Marvel was created, and Marvel Comics was created, and they trademarked the name. So that's why the title has been called Shazam since DC took it over, even though the character himself was still called Captain Marvel. But until, of course, the New 52 one, until the New 52 came out.
Yes, because they definitely had plans for Captain Marvel, so that's why they agreed. DC stopped calling him Captain Marvel in their comics. So yeah, no, to get on that, I've been looking forward to.
By the way, do you think that they could have still called him Captain Marvel in the movies if they had continued keeping his name as Captain Marvel in the comic books? Like they had to go for several years, despite the fact the title was called Shazam. and just call
Yeah,
the title.
no, to quickly address that, do I believe that? It's possible, yes. If Marvel were to push, if they were to push their Captain Marvel film to next year, sorry, not next year, in 2020, and they would have let DC have this one, then yes, I definitely think they would have let the film version be called Captain Marvel. Would they let the comic
character's name in the movie Shazam being called Captain Marvel? It's just that they would call the movie Shazam. It would be kind of like a whole situation where it's like,
exactly. I think they would have. Yes, they would have just let DC have him be called Captain Marvel, or maybe even have it be referenced in the film. Like maybe they don't. Maybe he's not called Captain Marvel, but someone suggests that name, and they're like, no, that's too dated. Like, if they would have done that, then yes, Marvel would have been like, okay, yeah, you can do that. But since Shazam is coming out a month after Captain Marvel, I think no, that's not going to happen. So to quickly talk about Shazam, because Shazam is one of my favorite DC characters. He's in my top 5. The fact that we're getting this film, and if you saw the trailer, it's not going to be a typical DCEU film. There's not going to be any darkness. There's not going to be any brooding in there. No, it's about a kid learning to deal with the responsibilities of these godlike powers. So it's essentially what I know a lot of people are making this comparison to this really old Tom Hanks movie. But if you think about it, this is also DC's version of Spider-Man, because it's a kid who's trying to learn responsibility, but instead of, doing it and having to worry about getting to school on time, he's having to learn to act like an adult when he transforms into, ironically, an adult. So I really think that the Shazam movie is going to be a success, much like Aquaman, because one, it's on a cheaper budget. It does not look like it's going to have $100 or $200 million thrown at it, because you don't need to do that. It's Shazam. You don't need to have him out in space on another planet. You can keep it down in the world, and I think that's good. So the fact that it looks like it's going to be very low scale and the stakes are going to be pretty much typical bad guy wants to take over the whole town or something, and our hero has to learn how to control or use his powers properly in order to stop him, I think that's good. So I definitely think Shazam will be a critical success and will be a box office success. Now, will it make as much as Aquaman or Wonder Woman? Absolutely not. I don't think so, because if you look at it, if you really look at it, Shazam is coming out a month after Captain Marvel, which has been in development, as we've said, for the past 10 years. And that's on Marvel, but we're not talking about that. And it's also coming out weeks before the 4th Avengers film. So it does have enough room to be a success. But I think by the end of its run, it'll probably just barely be profitable. And that will be good enough. I mean, if it can earn back its budget and break even, I think it'll be profitable by like $400 million. So that's good, but yeah.
I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50 on it being good. One thing it's going good for it is it's competing against Captain Marvel, essentially. It's only coming out about a month after it, as you said. I think I have said on record that I don't think the female Captain Marvel is going to do good. I think that's going to be the first Marvel film I don't think is going to do that very good. And so Shazam could capitalize on that it didn't do very good. But that's just my take on it, though.
To build off of that. To build off of that, because yes, the trailers for Marvel's version of Captain Marvel, it has not been doing the film good. I mean, yes, I like some of the trailers, but it's very hard to market that film because you just can't. I really think that it's not going to be the best marketed Marvel film, but as far as will it be the first bomb, I don't really think so. I do agree with you on one thing. Is it going to make as much as Black Panther did this year? No. Is it going to make as much as Iron Man? No. Is it going to make as much as Avengers? Hell no. It will barely barely make enough to be profitable and get a sequel.
If it does do good, I think it will just get at its peak of where the budget was, which to way I see it, in Marvel's eyes, I think that's a failure because they've never had a film like that where they haven't been above profit. So to me, that's where I'm kind of skeptical on them making a sequel. But let's not get into really Marvel.
Absolutely no. But also to continue that, as I said, Shazam looks like it's going to be the cheapest DCEU film because you don't need to throw that much at it. So if I had to guess, I really think by the end of its run, it will make at least $500 million to maybe $600 million, but that's it. I think that's good because right then and there, if Aquaman and Shazam and Wonder Woman can do this good, then that really shows you that okay, once again, they should start making films on these type of characters because they can still have a Batman film. But we need to see these type of characters because that's the thing. DC has an unlimited amount of characters. So it is good that they're giving Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam a chance. But I really think that they are the future of what the DCEU holds in terms of, okay, how will the DCEU continue? And if Shazam does good, which I think it will, then that pretty much confirms my theory that, okay, the DCEU is now taking more baby steps. And I think this is going to do well for it in the long run for all three of these films. So that's my prediction for Shazam.
Yeah. But moving into the next segment of this from Shazam Captain Marvel over here, is one of the films that I think is quite interesting because it's not really a superhero film, but it still cones into DC Comics, and that is the Joker film.
Yes, I knew we were going to talk about that.
The Joker film is pretty. It's pretty unique. It's a unique situation because the Joker is obviously a villain.
Yes.
So if you're gonna do a film on a villain, you got to have some type of, reason for him being the main focus. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a villain, just being there. And that's gonna be a big issue. So, I don't know exactly what they're thinking in terms of this. I mean, I have to imagine Batman's gonna be in this film. I mean, that's his arch nemesis. He's got to be.
To talk about the Joker film, I'm a huge Joker fan. I don't know if a lot of people know that. I love this character, and I love his relationship with Batman. It's the ultimate yin and yang, light and dark situation. But so the fact that he's getting his own film, and it's not the DCEU Joker, I just want to make that clear for people who don't know. This is not the DCEU Joker, the Jared Leto Joker that you saw in Suicide Squad. This is a different Joker played by an Academy nominated actor.
It's still part of the DCEU. Like, it's just
so this film, this is actually going to have no connection to the DCEU.
Really?
It's going to be it'll be its own thing. And as to if will Batman be in this film? It's kind of a yes and no question. No, it will. He will not be the Batman. It's not Batman, and it's going to be Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne will be in this film, but it's going to be younger kid version Bruce Wayne. So it will. And it's mostly going to be, from what I've gathered from just the set photos and the short synopsis that's come with it, this is going to be a Joker that is trying to rise up in the crime boss ranks, and he's trying to make a name for himself. So think of this film almost like not a heist film, but just think of it like a supervillain coming of age story where the supervillain.
Basically, is what I think you're signing, at least from the DCEU. If it is, I mean, you're saying it's not connected, but I mean,
no, yes,
it sounds like a prequel more or less to the events of DC. But EU, but I mean,
it's. I think the best word I can say I can call this film is an Elseworld story. It's pretty much an Elseworlds film where it's Joker before Batman ever comes in. He's still Bruce Wayne. His father is still alive. They're definitely making major changes to the Batman mythology. So this is not going to feel like a Batman Joker film. It's going to still have the characters' names, some of their likenesses, but it just won't be the same characters that we know at this point. So it's very strange. And I don't really know what to make of this film. I've been trying to wrap my head around it. I think depending on how it looks like Shazam, it's not going to have that big of a budget. So once again, if DC has put so little money into it, then I can definitely say it'll be a box office success, considering it's coming out in October. So once again, it's taking the place of
to do it in for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll definitely be good in that month. Now, will it be good? I don't think it'll be
Venom's record, though. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, no. Now, will the film be good? That's hard to say because there hasn't been a trailer, so I can't really say if this film will be good or not. I do think it will make a decent sized splash in October, but again, that's going to be difficult to judge.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think it has potential, but I mean, if it's not part of the DCEU, I mean, I'm not sure exactly where they're going with it. Then, if they're going to do spin-off movies outside of the DCEU, I mean, where is this universe going to coexist if it gets a sequel? And it's not going to connect to the DCEU. I'm very interested on where they're going with that.
It definitely looks like they're taking the Venom approach. They're definitely following Sony's. They're following Sony in terms of making films that don't coexist within the main universe that we all know. So if this does succeed, then it kind of creates its own universe, and that's just going to be, again, that's going to be a little confusing, but if it's good, then I think people will be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting into speaking of Joker, this gets into the segue of Joker's assistant, Harley Quinn, which is going to be in the film Bird of the Praise, which I am quite interested in.
Yeah, I really, once again, I don't know. I really can't say because number one, yes, Suicide Squad was a huge success. It won a freaking Oscar, for God's sakes, for best art and makeup, which is ridiculous. Hair and makeup, I'm sorry, which is ridiculous. But the point is that this kind of being a spinoff of that with Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, it's very confusing. It basically is trying to capitalize on the property because they can't make a Suicide Squad 2 because we don't know when that's going to happen.
Well, I mean, that's another thing we can talk about because that's like, of course, with director that put on that from James Gunn.
Yeah. Well, I can give my I can give my thoughts on both because I think in terms of Suicide Squad sequels and spinoffs, these two are the only ones that are going to see the light of day because the Joker versus Harley film is scrapped. So these two are the only ones I could see definitely happening, but as to where will they go, I don't know because they probably are going to start shooting next year. So we really can't say, okay, what will happen. Same thing with Suicide Squad 2. It is good that, DC, they wanted to rip off Guardians of the Galaxy so much that they actually got the guy who did it well. So the fact that they now have James Gunn working with them, I think, okay, this could potentially be good, but at the same time, it's like, okay,
well, it's very make a sequel? They have, because James Gunn going to DC didn't surprise me. I mean, when Marvel fired him, what did you expect was going to happen? Obviously, he needs to go somewhere. No. I mean, in DC, you've been wanting him for a while, so mean,
Yeah, no.
but I'm just curious to why they chose him for Suicide Squad rather than something else that hasn't really succeeded. Because Suicide Squad 1 did pretty good, so I don't know why you would shift that to someone else. Why not give him like something that's more like struggling or something that isn't off the ground really?
To quickly go over that, Suicide Squad was a huge success. It's one of the only, aside from Wonder Woman and Aquaman now, it's one of the only DCEU films that was profitable, and they're trying to get so many spinoffs and sequels going to it, but out of all the things they could have gotten James Gunn to do, it really stands to reason as to, okay, why not get him on a Green Lantern film or any DC space-related film? Because
I think Teen Titans would have been good for him.
Basically, any film would have been good for him because, once again, it just would have shown that, okay, if you get the right director and if this film fits with his style, I definitely think you've got something. But with Suicide Squad, it's like, okay, it would just be seen as James Gunn doing his own version of Guardians of the Galaxy and just getting payback for Marvel. So it's like, I don't really see the significance of Suicide Squad 2 having James Gunn. If anything, I think that's once again them capitalizing on the whole controversy he went through, which, I expected DC would pick him up and put him on one of their films. But once again, it's like, okay, you could have put him on any other film and you chose this. So I really can't say as to what will happen if Suicide Squad 2 succeeds because, once again, we don't know where that is in the development stage. All we know now is that some of the stars will return and James will direct it. So it's definitely...
and another thing to add on it coincide with Bird of the Prey because, I mean, that all kind of coincides with each other, I'd imagine, because some of the same people, some of them that are in... Squad, Spirit Squad, or Suicide Squad. I'm sorry, Suicide Squad okay. Some of them are in this Bird of the Prey movie, which James Gunn's not really involved in that one, and then they're gonna go right into the second one, and then obviously I imagine they're gonna like acknowledge the stuff from there too. So. It's really interesting how that's going to all coincide. But one thing that I just want to put out with Bird of the Prey that I think is just interesting in itself is that we possibly are going to see Batgirl in there, and also Black Mask, which that's I think probably the selling point more than anything too.
Yeah, exactly. And they did cast Ewan McGregor, aka Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Star Wars prequels, which again, I think, okay, Ewan is a great actor. So choosing him as Black Mask, I think that's interesting. And I see potential with Birds of Prey, but I can't say if it will be good or if it will be a box office success. Same thing goes with Suicide Squad 2, because I imagine with Birds of Prey, once again, it's going to be a very low budget movie. It probably will be $50 to $90 million. With Suicide Squad 2, since they threw a crap load of money at that film, and now that they have James Gunn, I would imagine that they will throw some money at it, but I don't think they're going to go overboard with it. But again, I can't say anything for certain because we need to wait and see when these films start shooting, and we really need to get a feel for what they're going to be, because right now...
Absolutely, and I think... But like I said, I think just because you got all these other females that are coming in, like Black Canyon, Harley Quinn already appeared, but and then of course Black Mask. But I think it's going to introduce, if the movie does do good, I think it will open up a lot of different doors for these others, because these superheroes probably wouldn't like typically get their own movie if they weren't like in this like group movie that they're going. So I think or if it does do good.
I agree.
But okay, so now we talked about him a little bit earlier, and that's the movie that is also in development. Well, we don't exactly know for sure where it's being developed, but the Cyborg movie, which as I said before, I think he should be a Teen Titan. We don't exactly know what they're going with the Cyborg movie because we haven't seen him since the Justice League movie where he was introduced. But there's rumors that they possibly are they're rewriting it to possibly have the Teen Titans be in this movie, and that sets him up with the Teen Titans. I don't know if that's going to happen or if it's just going to completely focus on Cyborg himself. I hope they go with the Teen Titan approach because I like I said, I don't think he's a Justice League member. I think they should have went with that to begin with. I wish they would have just never introduced him to Justice League because then we could have introduced him and then set up the Teen Titan movie or set up a live action Teen Titan movie. But what do you think of right now?
From what I last heard about it, it definitely looks like it is on. It's getting ready to be canceled because they cannot find. They keep going back and forth, like you said, deciding, okay, should we add members of the Teen Titans in here? Should we have it take place after Justice League? They don't know what to do with it. That's the problem. And okay, here's the other problem. Cyborg, in my opinion, honest to God opinion, does not need a movie based off of him. He does not need a solo film. He works better when he's with either the Titans or, in this case, the Justice League, or he's with a Justice League or Titan member, because if you give him his own solo film, Cyborg does not have his own set of villains. He doesn't have his own road. Well, but that's about it. That's only it. So yeah, Cyborg is just not that interesting if he's this particular version of Cyborg. I'm not saying Cyborg as a whole isn't. I'm just saying Cyborg works better when you put him with other characters. So I really can't say anything about the Cyborg movie because it now looks like it's not happening. It looks like it's going to be either delayed indefinitely or just now canceled because they don't know what to do with it.
Or they could, just completely rebrand it and make it a Teen Titans movie, which I think would be the better route. Or like I said, make it a Cyborg movie, but introduce the Teen Titans during the movie, which sets up the plot for them becoming the Teen Titans. Like maybe like an origin story that Cyborg's the one, I guess, in this timeline that starts the Teen Titans and gets everybody together, which would kind of not be the right way to do it anyways, but they already set themselves in a corner with introducing them into the Justice League, so they'd have to do it that way. Still, it would still be better than anything else that they would just do having Cyborg by himself in a movie. But that's where I say if they have to do this movie, it does get canceled as a Cyborg movie, I would rebrand it a Teen Titans movie and set it up that way. Or do it where you have some Teen Titans getting together to set up similar to what they tried to do with the Justice League with Batman v Superman. Obviously, they did that wrong, but I mean, similar to that, only do it right with the Teen Titans in some capacity that they would have to do in the movie. They would have to figure that out, but that's the only way I would suggest it at this point if you're going to keep the Justice League movie canon. If you're not going to keep it canon, then I would just completely rebrand it the Teen Titans movie and just start it up that way. Or an origin story to setting up the Teen Titans movie for the Teen Titans. So that's where I would go with that. If we're not sure if it will get canceled, but that's where my whole stance on that is right now. Then there's Wonder Woman 1984, aka Wonder Woman 2, which we've talked about briefly. I mean, we're both in agreement. We think the Wonder Woman franchise is great. And where do you think it would do this time around? Because it did pretty good. Over $8 million or $800 million at the box office. And I possibly think the sequel, I mean, if done right, could get to $1 billion. I mean, we're close. Aquaman somehow is closing on $1 billion. I mean, I feel like Wonder Woman 2, I mean, if they up the ante, could do, get up to that, Black Panther or that Avengers, profit point. Where do you think it could go?
There is potential. I definitely agree with you. There is potential for it to be able to break that $900 million to $1 billion ratio and therefore be once again up there with Aquaman. However, it's very difficult to tell. But from what I've seen, because once again, this film looks like it's going to retcon the Justice League canon, because it's still the same Wonder Woman. It's just that they're retconning it because, as we know and as we see, Wonder Woman Diana is active in the 80s, which in the Justice League canon, she says she wasn't that active for a while. She did start to come out to be more active, but the big giveaway is that Steve Trevor, or AKA Chris Pine's character, is alive. So this pretty much all but confirms that, okay, they're going to be changing and retconning Justice League a little bit. So right now,
they are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of interesting too, because before, as we all know, in the first movie, at the beginning of the film, they made it look like it was a flashback that we were seeing.
Yeah, no, but this one
first.
Yeah, no, but this one, it's just going to be interesting to see how they do it. They have wrapped up filming. It was supposed to come out next year, in November, but they pushed it back to 2020 because, from what I understand, they did not want to have it go up against Star Wars, and that was the only thing that was kind of dangerous about having it next year around that late November, early December slot, is that it would have gone up against Star Wars, and that would not have been a good idea. And most likely it would have not succeeded. It wouldn't have bombed, but it would not have made as much money as they wanted it to make. So I definitely think them waiting to release it in 2020, maybe early 2020, but from what I've seen, it looks like it could have a release date of summer 2020. So at this point right now, I think Wonder Woman 1984 / Wonder Woman 2, it's in a good spot. I'm confident that it will do good. How it will up the stakes and how it will do, I don't know, because it's really up in the air right now. But I definitely could see it either not making as much as the first one or succeeding the first one. It's really all going to be up to how it performs in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to depend. And like I said, the marketing there, and where their profit points, doing it at a certain spot so they can get the most money is obviously a good business decision on their part. I personally think they shouldn't have to really worry about Star Wars, but that's obviously their decision. But the way all these business works, so they want to make the most potential money profits that they can at certain months of the year, so that's why they're doing it, to ensure that. But
yeah.
So now, as we talked earlier too, there's this to be determined Batman film, which we don't know anything about it. We don't know if it's gonna. We don't know if they're gonna do it. We don't know what's going on with that. Like I said, we don't know if Ben Affleck is coming back. If he's fired, if he isn't fired.
It's a logistical freaking nightmare, but yeah. Well, we do know it is definitely happening. The script is going to be turned in by the end of the year. It's going to get started it's going to go into production either early or late next year, and possibly see a release date of mid or late 2020 or possibly 2021. So we know it's happening. We know it's going to go into production, but we don't know if Ben Affleck is.
We don't know if Ben is doing it.
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. And that's the problem with trying to talk about this film.
We don't know who the villain is.
No, we don't. We know it's gonna. It's completely. We know that the director, whose name I forget to pronounce, so I do know his first name is Matt, so I'll just call him Matt. We do know that Matt has completely rejected and thrown out Ben Affleck's script. So the way Ben wanted to do it, it's not happening. And it's going to focus on a younger Batman who is more active and kind of having it be a detective / noir type
more like
feeling.
A prequel from the events of Batman v Superman Justice League, or is it like going to be part of it?
That's what it looks like, but it's kind of gone back and forth. As I said, this film is a literal walking, talking logistical nightmare. We don't know anything about it other than it is happening. So I really can't give my thoughts on it, even if I was, wide awake. But I really, all I can say is that I don't know. I want it to do good, but at the same time, at this point, I just don't know anymore. I really think that it is good that they're taking their time. Warner Brothers is letting the director take his time to really find his version of Batman that he wants to do. I think that's good. It does show that there's potential. But at this point, I think it's probably better that we wait till next year, because we will hear more about it next year. I think we will, because next year is Batman's 80th anniversary, and we're definitely going to be getting a lot of Batman stuff come out. So I think it's just a waiting game at this point. So yeah, that's about all I can say about it.
Okay, so Green Lantern Corps. And no, we all know that Deadpool
Ryan Reynolds
is not doing this movie.
Yes, Ryan Reynolds has nothing to do with this. It's going to be its own thing. It will be done by former DC COO, Chief Operating Officer, Jeff Johns, who is a comic writer. He's done some good things for the DC films and the comics, and right now, currently, the streaming service app with some of the shows. But as of right now,
do we know as of right now who the Green Lantern they're using, or is this gonna be a group? I think John Stewart, or shouldn't you think he should do it, or?
Yeah, from what I've heard, it will be using both Hal Jordan and John Stewart, but it's gonna have John Stewart be a rookie Green Lantern, and he's gonna be the protege and learning how to be a proper Green Lantern by a much seasoned version of Hal Jordan. So it's kind of going to be like a buddy cop kind of movie in space. That's the last bit of news I heard about it. Other than that, I don't know who's directing this film. I don't know anything about this film other than Jeff Johns is working on it, and it's going to focus on John Stewart. It's going to mainly focus on John Stewart, but it's also going to have Hal Jordan be a supporting character. So that's about all I know about it. There's really nothing else much to say other than I hope it's good, because I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, and I would like to see the Green Lantern be a success,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another film that is to be determined, I guess, is the Flashpoint.
Oh boy!
I don't know if it's a thing, but one thing I've heard about this really is that this is supposed to be like a film where they can kind of get themselves out of the Justice League canon and try to destroy the continuity of the multiverse, basically.
So to really talk quickly about this film, okay, so yeah, as of right now, Warner Brothers has pushed it back again. It is not going into production next year. It looks like it's not going to go into production in 2020. If anything, it'll probably come out 2022 or 2023. We really don't know, because Warner Brothers keeps firing directors who have their own version or want to do their own, who have their own vision, and want to do their own take on the Flash movie. It was supposed to originally kind of wipe the slate clean for the Justice League, which is why it would have Ben Affleck be recast as Batman. It would have Steve Trevor be alive, or it would just do anything.
But it would keep Wonder Woman. They're going to keep Wonder Woman in it or something. She's going to join Flash or something to prevent her from not being different.
Yeah, exactly. So Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and potentially Shazam would have been unaffected by this film. Superman and Batman would have been the only ones to really be affected. So yeah, as of right now, that Flash or Flashpoint movie or whatever it was going to be, it looks like it's not happening, because they simply just can't figure it out. That yes, the Flash is doing successful on the TV show, the CW show, but it really perplexes me that Warner Brothers cannot let these directors do what they want to do with the Flash film. and they just don't seem to care that much about it anymore. They're just willing to toss it by the wayside. So right now, what this movie could be or what it could have been, once again, just like Green Lantern, I can't, or the Batman, I can't tell you because this film is just, it most likely won't happen because they just cannot get it out.
It's kind of like the Justice League 2 because that's probably not happening.
No, the Justice League 2 is definitely not happening. Well, speaking of, which I know you were probably going to talk about this sooner or later, the Superman movie, Superman 2, or Man of Steel 2, as I
Oh God, no! I actually wasn't gonna bring that up, but.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry.
Yeah, you can. I know. I mean, speaking of that, though, you can talk about Supergirl, though, because I heard they were doing a movie of that.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just gonna say real quickly, Man of Steel, much like Flash, it's not happening. Just forget it. That film, it's definitely not. It's not happening. Same case. Warner Brothers doesn't care. They're just screwing this over, and that looks like it's not happening.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, Superman consistently never really typically makes that much money. I mean, if you go back to any of the movies back in the day, too, like some of those early 2000 movies that they did, they didn't really make that much. And Superman at the movies really typically has made, and I know they were even coming in the comment section and say, "Oh, you're just a hater of Superman." But if you look at the numbers consistently, like he really hasn't made that much overall.
No,
compared to other,
yeah,
superheroes. And
yeah, no, yeah, I agree with you, and I like Superman, but yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Supergirl, that's another story. Okay, this one. I don't really know when the hell this is going to happen. I don't know why this is happening because again,
because what I heard was about the Supergirl thing was that they were interested in doing it because one, Wonder Woman did really good. Two, CW I guess has a Supergirl series going on, and
yes, it's been going
really
on.
Good. It does well,
yeah, it does.
I don't really pay attention to it, but like it's done really good, I guess, so good that they're like, let's do a movie on this. But now, are they going to be using the actor from that TV series and using her in the film, and then
much like
together as the same thing?
No and no. They would recast the actor. They would recast for this movie. The TV actor would stay where she is. They wouldn't use her. They would have to do her origin that we've already seen in tons of media. It's been used tons of times thanks to the Supergirl TV show. And what this movie would essentially be, again, I don't know when it's happening. We don't know if it's going in development. All we know is that it's just Warner Brothers once again just making announcements they can't live up to. But if I had to but from what people speculated, Supergirl would essentially take the place of Superman because Warner Brothers cannot get Superman right. They really are screwing over the actor, and they're constantly delaying the sequel.
Oh, yeah,
so
they keep telling him he's fired, he's not fired. Like,
yeah, it's a nightmare, man. So yeah, Supergirl would just essentially take the place of.
So you think like if they ever decide to do like a Justice League film again, like they would have Supergirl as in there. With all the other people,
yeah.
Wow.
No, it's ridiculous. So yeah, no, I don't know where that Supergirl movie's going. I really don't. As of this point, it's funny.
I'd rather have a Batgirl film at this point.
yeah, I know. Which that was supposed to happen, but it ain't happening anymore. So. They have. If you guys have noticed a pattern here, I think you guys obviously have been catching on. Warner Brothers has been making tons and tons and tons of announcements for all of these films that are either connected or not connected to the DCEU. And guess how many of them are actually coming out and happening? It's countable on one hand.
As many.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. I mean, yes, they announced they're going to make a Blue Beetle film, which why? Why do they need to do that? They've announced they're going to make they've announced they're going to make all of these different films, but at the end of the day, why make all of these announcements if you're not going to fully commit to them or if you haven't even finished on the film you're working on? This is the problem. Even though they've learned their lesson, and they're starting to get the picture, they're still making these mistakes.
I feel like what they're trying to do is they're trying to see what's, like, I don't know, the flavor of the month phrase they use a lot in wrestling. I feel like it's like this is kind of the flavor of the month. Like, you know, they see that something is doing, you know, interesting here, and then they're like, you know what, let's make a film of that. You know, oh, that thing's doing really good, let's make a film of that. You know, it's like, you know, it's Supergirl, for example. It's like, oh, it does really good in the TV series. Wonder Woman did very good as a female protagonist on the big screen. Let's do that as a film. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they're doing like a flavor of the month to see what could actually stick in their announcements, and it's just cluttering everything.
Yes, it is. It's like, okay, focus, DC. Focus on what the heck you're doing now. It's good that you're making sequels and you're really giving the shine to Wonder Woman, to Aquaman, to Shazam, to these three. Yeah, it's good that you're doing that. But the problem here is that, okay, if you are trying to restart your universe and essentially redo it, then you're going about it the wrong way. It's like you're announcing all of these different films that most likely, most of them won't happen. Most of them won't go into production, and they won't find actors or directors because of the simple fact you just can't afford to have that time. I mean, people are not going to wait until 2024 for a Supergirl film or a Green Lantern film. They're not going to wait as long as it takes for these films to go into production. At this point right now, what I suggest they do is they just focus on what is doing good now. If they just focus on that, and then if they have a solid idea on where they want to go next, then follow through with it. Stop making daily announcements on these films that you want to do, that we've been wanting to see, but to just have them not happen or go into production because it's just not worth it. This is why this is the same thing. It's not just Warner Brothers. Other companies are doing the same thing. They're not learning. And the only reason Sony got away with it is because they blew most of their money getting away with it. Now, thanks to Venom and thanks to Into the Spider-Verse, they're getting back in the game.
I mean, you're getting the money though. It was worth it for them because they did do stuff that like ended up, you know, the fans liked.
Yeah, exactly. No, but Warner Brothers, as of this moment, they can't afford that luxury. So as of right now, I think, you know, to really put a cap on this, I think Warner Brothers needs to stop. Just stop making all these announcements. Focus on what's doing good right now. If they're going to make sequels to these films, go for it. If you have a plan on how this will fit into this new, larger DCE universe, then take your time to get to that point. As of right now, what could really happen, we could have Shazam, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman be the new founding members of the Justice League at this point because their films their Aquaman and Wonder Woman are doing amazing, or did amazing, I'm sorry, and Shazam could follow suit. So right now, it's like...
Wouldn't it be kind of ironic, too? Shazam does really good, and Superman can't.
Well, no, Superman...
Because of Superman...
Well, no, Superman and Batman combined can't.
No, I'm just talking about the copyright court thing.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's actually a good point. Yeah. But yeah, no. So, and really, well, I've always mentioned this. Every time I see this argument, I 100% agree with it. The fact that DC's animated universe is kicking their live action films' asses is laughable. Because the animated films and the TV shows actually take their time and they establish and get to the bigger picture. They don't just throw stuff at you constantly. They take their time. So they really need to be paying attention and looking at what their animated department is doing.
I agree with that, and I personally think they have better superheroes overall than Marvel. It's just Marvel makes better films overall. overall.
Yes,
But
exactly. No, yes, you're completely right. I mean, yes, Marvel has more relatable characters and make better films, but the point is that DC has better inspiring heroes. If it was DC was making the cinematic universe, although technically it was the TV universe, long before Marvel did it. They have been succeeding long before the MCU even started, and to see that
Batman movie, the Batman, the original one from
yeah,
the
no,
80s, 90s.
yeah, the animated series, the cartoon universe.
The 60 series too, but I was just talking about like in the terms of the cinematic universe.
Oh, okay, yeah, no,
They
then
were the
yes.
ones that started it. You know, a lot of people talk about, you know, a lot of things Marvel did with Fox and Sony and stuff like that with the stuff that they did in the beginning. But I mean, Batman really was the original Batman movie is what,
Yes.
you know, cinematic movie is the one that really started the superhero genre, like in the cinematic big screen box office films and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's debatable, but yes, I can completely agree with you. For a new generation and where we are now, yes, he did. But nevertheless, I definitely think Warner Brothers just needs to stop. I think they just need to stop. Really, just stop making all these announcements. Make the films they know are going to happen. They know we're going to come out, and then if those do well, then okay, focus on that. We don't need that. We don't need all this clutter. It's ridiculous. So,
And
yeah,
not to mention too, also, you know, because DC isn't the only stuff that Warner Brothers is doing in terms of movies. That's not their only stuff, you know. I mean, that's one of their main things. That's one of their main things, of course. But they make Warner Brothers makes other movies besides the superhero movies. You know, they're supposedly doing an Attack on Titan movie, which I don't know whether they're doing that, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, so they got other things going on besides.
They have other original films. They have they do other things besides comic book films, but that's the thing. Warner Brothers needs the comic book. They need.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it, but I'm saying is like, well, you got all these. And that's going into their wallet as well too. You know, so
yeah, exactly.
Too.
Yeah, so if Warner Brothers doesn't shape up, I think what's going to happen is that much like Sony, in a couple of years, they're not going to be a DC. The DC umbrella will not be in Warner Brothers' care. Warner Brothers could potentially.
Well, you got to remember too, they're currently owned by AT&T now, so I don't know exactly what the thing is with it, but.
Yeah, no. Well, again, yeah, that's true. So I'm just saying, like, right now, if they don't shape up, they're going to continue to have more and more bombs, and it's not just with their comic book films. I think they really need to take a step back, reassess, and just focus on one thing, or just have different divisions, because that's the one thing why the Marvel and the MCU works so well. It's because it's its own separate division from the Disney Corporation. They have, yeah. So the fact that Warner Brothers still hasn't done that, they tried but it failed. It's just laughable. So yeah, I don't know. To end this whole topic, I'm excited I'm happy Aquaman was good. I'm excited for Shazam. I'm hoping that the future of the DCEU can really be better and restart itself, because at this point, you know, it's like I said, Batman, Superman, they're not the top heavy hitters in the film universe anymore. It's now Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and potentially Shazam. And
well, Batman's still debatable because he never had a solo film in the cinematic universe. Still, I mean,
that's true. Yeah, but you know, it's still to be said.
I also want to bring this up before we leave this too. Is because I heard recently about the plot of the Justice League. The original plot was supposed to be that Wonder Woman and Batman were actually supposed to be a thing, which would have made sense too, because I think that would have made perfect sense, and also kind of going in with a Batman Superman ship moment too. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that too? Because I don't know. It's a tidbit thing that was just
no. It could have happened. It definitely could have happened.
I mean, it's no fun if they do anything with the Batman film, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I have no idea, man. It definitely could have happened. I think if they wanted to, they did hint at it, but I think at the end of Justice League, they were just like, okay, let's just move on. I think that's really. I think that's to really sum it up. It's like. They could have. That's the best way I could sum it up as a whole. It could have happened, but it didn't happen. So, you know, what's done is done.
Yeah.
But
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't have a lot of thoughts on this. Again.
Just final thoughts, man. I'm hoping DC can. I'm hoping the film universe, I should say. I'm hoping the DC film universe can pick itself back up. It looks like it is, but I really hope by next year, by the end of next year, we see a steady DCEU, and the future does look bright for it.
Yeah, I absolutely hope so too. Like, I'm hoping that they do something. I mean, I don't know exactly if Shazam's gonna do good, but I mean. With Aquaman surprisingly doing good, I mean, I don't like it. I mean, I don't like the film, or I mean, I don't like the character in general. But I mean, it's doing good, so it's helping Warner Brothers. But I don't know. I'm really hoping that they do good with this. I mean, I really hoping that like they can do like films that are good, like that are gonna help and are gonna entertain us. Because I mean, that's the whole point of this. Is, you know, where the films are supposed to entertain us, and we're supposed to like them. So. I'm really hoping that they do something that's going to help us want to go see these sequels, whether they decide to do more sequels. I mean, I'm almost certain they're going to do a sequel of Aquaman now because of how good it's doing. But I mean, you know, Wonder Woman's obviously coming out. Wonder Woman 2 is going to be coming out in a couple of years, and I hope that does really good. And like I said, any other sequels that could plan, depending on like, you know, if these other films do good. But I don't know. I'm really hoping that we get something really good. Like I said, Teen Titans would be really good. That was my wishful thinking, is that they do a Teen Titans film instead of the Cyborg film. That would be like the big thing, mainly.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any film personally that you would personally want them to do that they could still potentially do at this time right now, or if there's any film that they're already announced that you really want to see that hope that you do good. That does do good.
Yeah, no, to touch up on that before we go, I have no films that I wish to see because, I mean, Shazam was the biggest one I wanted to see, so I'm happy it's finally happening and it's coming out next year. As far as the films that they've announced, I mean, I would have to see what they look like and what becomes of them to really tell you if I'm excited for them. But since most of these films most likely will not happen, will not go into production, I think I'm good. I'm good with Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam. I think I'm good with those films.
Yeah, this is my dreaming wishing of a Teen Titans live action film.
Yeah. Well, again, I would like to see that too, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, like I said, if they do end up canceling the Cyborg film, that could fill it. I mean,
yeah, definitely, man.
But yeah, so that is really pretty much all we have to cover. Comment down below what you guys think about some of these future films. What do you think is going to do good? What film would you want to see, you know, them do if they could do it, you know, or your dream film that you would want them to do if done right, of course. So comment down below, rate. Also, check out Richard Korra Kenobi's new channel, the Jedi Bender. The link will be in the description box. And that's about it, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe, rate, and comment, as I already said. And that's about it. I am the SS Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of here. Peace.